There's this guy. What's his channel? I'm going to pull it up. Explosive, more fraud. These people are evil, okay? I don't care if you're on the left, you're on the right. I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat. Wolves in Finance. He's got 292,000 subscribers. Shout out, you're getting attention from us. This guy claims to be an accountant, and he looks into these filings from Turning Point because, lo and behold, it's funny, he goes, in the first video he made, which I largely debunked, not completely, there's some points he makes that are interesting. He's like, where are the 990 forms for 3 of Turning Point's shell companies? They were supposed to be filed in May. They're not, he says, they're missing. They're missing. No, they got filed in October, most likely, which means they weren't going to be made available for public review until they were reviewed themselves by the IRS. And the government was shut down. So now that they're available and you can read them, he says they've mysteriously appeared. How convenient. And I'm like, no, well,
that's just
it's a month after the October filing date. Okay.
That's just narrative and framing. It shows exactly why people are good at what they do.
And I'm going to tell you why this guy is a liar. And he really crossed the line with this video. I'm sick of this stuff, dude. This is why people are saying F politics, because it's all a bunch of scumbags. Yep. This guy claims he's an accountant. Well, in his video, he says there's a company called 110 LLC, and they received over 3 years, $1.4 million for social digital ad placement. He then says, I went to the address and it's a parking lot. It's a parking lot. They can't just send money to a parking lot. I'm here. Where's the business? There's no business called 110 LLC. The reason why I'm calling him a scumbag and a liar is because as an accountant who goes over tax filings, he would know this, and a lot of people don't. I get it. There are a lot of people who don't know how filing a corporation works. We here at Timcast have probably 20 or 30 corporations because different pieces of intellectual property sometimes require their own limited liability corporation for a variety of reasons. Tim, if you went to our address, our corporate address, you'd be like, where's the business? I don't see a building that says Timcast on it. What about Cast Brew Coffee? You gonna find a building that says Cast Brew Coffee on it? So what he found is there is a politician in Arizona who uses this address and all of the suites listed for this business and others and has received payment from Turning Point. He then pulls in and says, why are they sending money to a parking lot? This is manipulation. They're not. They're sending money to a corporation whose registered address is at a strip mall, likely owned by an individual who utilizes their mail intake for business registration. While this guy is claiming it's money going to a parking lot because this is how they manipulate people, Candace Owens also pointed out that her own lawyers are operating out of the same building as the feds. And when asked about it, she said, it's just a registered agent. So you simultaneously have in the comments, I think the first comment is earlier today, one of the comment was people insulted Candace for calling this out. You can't believe both, that you can't have a registered address and that Candace can have a registered address. If you believe that Turning Point was sending $1.4 million, Charlie Kirk's orders, by the way, that's his claim, to a parking lot, and the insinuation is that it's to pay off a politician because they're crooked, then Candace Owens works with the feds. Candace Owens is a fed. And by all means, you choose your poison. If her lawyers are working in the same building as the feds, then I'd say she's a fed because she chose this company. She chose this law firm. Why would she do it? Oh, wait a minute. No. It's a Delaware address utilized by tons of corporations, including some federal agencies and many law firms, and they don't actually work there. It's just a registered agent. Oh, well, that makes sense, right? Okay, well, then this guy he's playing the opposite game. So you pick which lie it is. That's why I'm sick of all of this stuff. People are wondering why we chose to lead with raccoons today. It's because this space is starting to fill up with desperate con artists, grifters, and scammers who are going to lie to you, manipulate you because you're ignorant of corporate filings. That's not an insult. Many of you don't understand what you have to do to file for a C Corp, S Corp, LLC, LLP, etc. Some of the things you may not even heard of. Many of you already know exactly what it is. This guy says, I'm an accountant. He knows exactly what he's talking about. So when he makes a video like this, he's intending to deceive you because he gets 200,000 views on this and puts cash in his pocket. I'm so over all of this stuff, man. You want to talk about immigration and tax policy, fine. But you know what? The reality is, you guys, our dedicated audience, clearly do care. Most people don't. They want drama, WWE BS, and they want to believe what they want to believe, and they don't want the truth.
Yeah, that's the TMZ-ification of media. I mean, it's a complete disaster because this is very serious stuff we're discussing. We're discussing the country that's going to be left behind for your children. That's what's at stake right now. And people, yeah, they want the slop. They want the slop because it's entertaining. It's very effeminate. I mean, you can tell that the space is being dominated by women and like gay guys because the types of stuff being covered is ridiculous, unproductive, counterproductive actually, because I don't know if you checked the last election result, Trump's president. We have 3 years left to mop this mess up.
Not even. If we don't win the midterms,
sure.
They're gonna start a new committee. They're going to start rounding up people like Steve Bannon again. Was it Bannon who said this? He's like, I'll go to prison, and many of you in this room will as well. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, I mean, I got to say, like, this guy, I imagine what he's doing is he's like, oh boy, I'm going to get so many views from this. That's why he's doing it. Mm-hmm. And Candace, very much the same. That's why for nearly 3 months, she has just said incoherent nonsense because it gets her views and makes her money. And as the system burns down, we all suffer for it. And that's why I think the left, for all we can complain about, they're willing to stand arm in arm and burn everything down. And the right is full of people who are going to run ads for gambling websites and soda products and then shill for India.
You know, I mean, a lot of times I think that it's because the people that are in the space on the right that are looking to, you know, capitalize on whatever is the hot topic, they don't have a particular belief in anything. And I think this kind of goes back to a bit of what we were talking about yesterday with Nick, probably in the after show. The right needs to figure out what it's for. You know, what exactly are the goals of the right?
I don't even know if that's possible because there's such a widespread amount of views of the world on the right. I don't think that you can all coalesce around that idea. I think the individual nature of right-wing personalities makes that harder to do.
I think you, to a degree, you have a point because the MAGA coalition is considered the right nowadays. But the argument between, you know, Dave Rubin and I forget who it was that he was talking to, but you know, there are people that have very different views and they coalesce because they're against the woke. They were against what the left had been doing, and now because the right is fairly ascendant and has political power, the right really needs to be able to deliver a coherent message as to what it is that the right stands for. Mm-hmm. And that argument is being had, like we were talking about Orrin McIntyre and other people in the space that are actually having, you know, real conversations about what is it that the right wants to do.
Well, it's why everyone scratches their heads. Like when Trump's not on the ballot, Republicans perform poorly. And everyone's scratching their. Why is that? Well, it's because Republicans define themselves and what they're against. They define themselves and what they're opposed to. Trump is the only figure in the GOP over the last 10 years that has provided a vision for America. That's provided what he is for, what he is pro. And that's just like fundamentally politics 101, is you have to provide something that people can buy into. This is what Reagan did. I mean, you go back to Nixon. This is what Nixon did. Like these are our conservative agendas that you can pass that are pro things rather than just holding back the Democrats. That's fundamentally what Republicans have been for the last 50 years.
Look, I understand why that's been a motivation for so many people, because the things that the left has been pushing have been basically abhorrent to families, to a productive, successful society. And so, yes, it has been a good thing that there's been a broad coalition on the right, or in the not left, if you want to call it that, that have stood up against the things that the left was pushing. Until we get an actual coherent message, I think that this kind of backbiting and fighting is going to be predominant.
I'm going to grab one super chat that just came in before we jump to the next story, and it's Huey says, Tim, I work in construction and experienced the same thing. My coworkers are all in on the Charlie Kirk conspiracies. If the Republicans lose in the midterms, I believe that Candace Owens is wholly responsible. She is one of the biggest podcasts on the right, doing everything to go to war with the organization that helped get Trump elected. Turning Point specifically was going out and registering people to vote. Without Charlie, it's in trouble. Turning Point needs to be able to go out and rally young people and register them to vote. And she's doing everything she can to destroy that. And that is going to, I suppose, it's going to rip out the coffers on the right, There is no organization like Turning Point that exists anywhere else that has the resources and the reach. And without Charlie, I'm not sure that they can make it. But I can tell you this, Candace lighting a Molotov and throwing it through the window is not helping. And it's the most demoralizing thing ever. Additionally, all of the fucking cowards on the right who are too scared to say anything about her, because she tweets at me talking shit or whatever, and then a bunch of people come and flood our chat. I could give a single flying fuck. You can come and you can burn everything I have to the ground, and I will happily live in a van down by the river. I don't care to be number one. I don't need to be number one. What I care about is what is true and what will help this country and what works. And she is a fucking scumbag, okay? And she's getting worse every day. And she crossed the line. She continually crosses the line every day, insinuating that Turning Point literally killed the guy who made them all rich. And I hear this in the streets, and at a certain point, I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna lose the midterms. We're gonna lose the midterms, then we're gonna lose in 2028, and it's because she's a piece of shit. Because instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest, retarded crap. And now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason? Now, guess what? I'm not on the best of terms with Turning Point either. In case you didn't remember, they didn't invite us this year, and it's become a big thing or whatever. I have nothing. I can say I know what they are. I know what they do, and I'm glad they do it. And if we don't get along, so be it. I don't know that they make it without Charlie, whatever. But what is the purpose of intentionally fanning the flames for 3 endless months of just nonstop retard shit, Candace? Holy crap. You know, initially in the beginning, she brought up some interesting things. New photos had emerged, and I said, wow, I even said this to Andrew Colvett at Turning Point at the beginning of October. Now she's at the point where it is video after video where she's saying it's an inside job. She's saying, like, there's a video of the dude, Mikey McCoy, grabbing his phone and making a phone call, and she's acting like that's weird. And then you get this other guy who's claiming that the business is a parking lot. Well, he full well knows businesses can be registered anywhere. To be fair, it's not only just Candace and saying what she's saying. It is all of these people who are like piranhas ripping the right to shreds. And you know what? A lot of cowards on the right being unwilling to say anything about it. Well, this is where we go. The Democrats are trying to find a way back to reality. They published this thing where they said, oh, we've got to, it's called Deciding to Win. And they said, we have to address kitchen table issues. Like hell, I would ever vote for someone like Elizabeth Warren or Gavin Newsom. But what I think is likely to start occurring now is the grifter right is cannibalizing itself. You are going to see the right now move from a populist base more to a neocon base. Democrats are going to go to war internally over the far left, and you'll see the emergence now of these deciding to win types, which, like Stephen A. Smith, will start agreeing with people like me and Joe Rogan. And they're going to try and win back the ground, and they're going to utilize the absurdity, psycho-reality of Candace Owens to rip people from the right so that Democrats can start winning again. And that is the reality the right has to contend with. Conservatives had a coalition. Charlie helped build it. Disaffected liberals came on board. People like Candace are intentionally burning it to the ground. Stephen A. Smith is coming out. Bill Maher even now coming out more reasonably. The Democrats are going to reemerge. Those that sold their souls for woke and to COVID are going to lose out, and they're going to retire. The AOC types, you're going to see her desperately try to moderate. But we're going to see in these swing districts, they're going to try. Now, that being said, hyperpolarization, as I've already described, may affect New York and Los Angeles and Chicago, so we will see it. Maybe it all just gets ripped apart anyway, and you end up with 15 different factions all fighting for power in the federal government. All I can say is it is frustrating to look at everything that's happening in the world and realize, for a brief moment, my friends, maybe this is a little bit too black-pilled, but I'll say what I'm going to say. It looks like victory. A year ago, it wasn't a long, protracted election. It was a snap and done. Trump won. Wow. And then one by one, cracks in this coalition begin to form. For whatever reason, the falling of Daily Wire, the ousting of Jeremy Boring, he's gone. Whatever it is going on with Daily Wire, I have no idea, but for some of these guys, their views have gone down. There's been heavy critiques. There's the Israel and anti-Israel rights now fighting each other. You see these cracks forming. You get the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes dispute, and now Candace Owens is trying to burn down Turning Point. And so what it feels like to me is we're watching the ship sink. Now, again, we don't need to be completely blackpilled all the time. Maybe as we move into the midterms, people will start to hyper-focus on politics once more. Viewership will start to rise. Money will be dumped into the space. It's the year after a presidential election, like 2021, it's always like this. In fact, our viewership today, it's bigger than it was in 2021. So there's things to be excited about. And we did have infighting over the DeSantis stuff, but it is pretty dang frustrating to see all of the hard work that was put together to stop the far left lunacy fall apart. But at least I can say this. If the deciding to win Democrat types do push out the sellout corporatists and they do push out the woke far left commie whatever, maybe the Democrats will emerge as the alternative to the lunacy of the pathetic right, and they'll start winning back people who will consider themselves disaffected Republicans.
Me and Tate were talking about the rise of Stephen A. Smith a while back.
Yeah, well, but to Tim's point, like, this is what's so frustrating is because it's almost cool to not take anything seriously anymore. It's almost cool to be the person that's in on the secret and like I have this hidden esoteric knowledge that sometimes the most boring reality is the reality, which is the reality that Trump is president. This is the most viable option to save this country. Get behind him because you do not understand what is coming for you when Trump, you know, if this fails, if this project fails.
I just got someone pointed this out, and it's a great point. This guy who made this video, Wolves in Finance, who he's like fraud at Turning Point, and he's like, I went to this address and said that I can't find the business anywhere. There's literally a UPS store there. He has discovered that the business is a contractor with an LLC registered to a mailbox at a UPS store, which was always allowed. That's where they receive their mail. And he's pretending not to know this. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.